Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Eternal Life Matters podcast. I am your host, Michael, and I have a special one for you this time on this episode. I have my brother in Christ, Jason Lawson. Man, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. How you doing? I
Doing
appreciate
good.
being here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, we're glad to have you. Glad to bring you in on this episode, man. We are talking about the topic of fear, and why not with Halloween being right around the corner,
Yep.
man.
Yep.
Did you grow up on horror movies?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. My mom did not
Same.
shy away from showing me any of them.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I thought you was gonna say she didn't let y'all see it.
No,
Okay.
she was, she didn't hold them back, but,
Okay.
nothing crazy, but
Sure.
yeah, I mean,
We weren't as kids we weren't allowed, obviously, because they were all rated R at the time.
yep.
And then you get to young adult age, um, parents kind of got lenient a little bit, and then there was the parts where you snuck stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But when I got into my 20s and was actually out of the home, this really when I was like, you know what, all this stuff I couldn't, wasn't able to watch as a kid or anything like that. I'm not gonna get into it because Nightmare on Elm Street,
Yep. Yep.
one of the one of my favorites in terms of like horror flicks, if you will.
Yep.
Just the whole concept of somebody who can get you in your dream.
Yep. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's a neat concept.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but yeah, man, those movies, the purpose of them, obviously, as we know, was to scare people. It was to entice fear in them. Make them afraid of what? Of the dark.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have a fear of the dark?
I did not have a fear of the dark. Absolutely not.
Okay.
It's funny you mentioned that about as you got older. I didn't see any harm in it at the time myself.
Sure.
But now I'm raising my own children.
Mm-hmm.
Now you think about, probably how your parents were thinking. Now I look at that like,
Sure.
I don't want any influence here.
Right. Yeah.
These backdoor tactics per se.
Sure. Yeah. Well, look, Friday the 13th. Nudity.
Yep.
Nightmare on Elm Street. Some of the later parts, like I think part 3 and on, we kind of began to introduce it and all that stuff. So, no, yeah, they certainly would have been impressionable on somebody
Absolutely.
like a young boy, especially. Um, and so I appreciate the fact that my parents kept that stuff away from me.
Yeah.
Resident Evil. Does that sound familiar?
To me, it sounds familiar because the video game.
Yes.
I was still in that range.
Yes.
Age-wise.
Okay, PlayStation.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. I remember still, my mom was, there was a caseworker. My parents were foster parents. And this caseworker, his name was Ken. I still remember his name. He would come by, obviously to, check in and stuff. But he would bring his PlayStation. And that was one of the games that they would play.
Oh, okay.
We weren't allowed to see it, even with those graphics. I mean, if you look back on it, those graphics were not. They were like pixelated and stuff like that.
Right.
They weren't that good.
No.
But even then, they shielded us from that. And at the time, me and my brother were living downstairs, or there was a basement level, and it was finished, and so that's where we stayed. And maybe I think my sister had a room upstairs, whatever. I don't remember where she was, but yeah, I would go upstairs. I just remember once, going upstairs and one of these things, or looking for a reason to ask her for something,
right?
Just to catch a win. But then when you look back, like you think about that, and then you see the game today, and again you see the graphics, and it's like, bro, why would they keeping this from us?
Right.
Um, but honestly, some of the remakes, like the newer consoles, are updated graphics.
Yeah, sure.
So you got that. But yeah, man, they would keep that stuff from us. Um, I will say, you probably won't know this horror character. His name was Candyman.
I remember
Okay, you
Candyman.
remember
Yep.
Candyman?
Yep. Yep.
I said Freddy Krueger was like one of the ones that I thought was interesting. Candyman was another one because while although you did have to call him in the lore, according to the lore, it was the whole Bloody Mary thing.
Yep.
Essentially that, but with a black character. Um, it was still this idea that he was a tall, dark skinned brother.
Yep.
With a I think he had it wasn't a trench coat, it's like a fur coat.
Yeah.
Big old thick fur coat.
Yeah, I believe. Yeah, I do, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, and it was like now he played the shadows real well, and you just he was one of the, if it wasn't Freddy, it was him that scared me.
Okay.
If any of them did, but fear, man, it can be a crippling thing.
Absolutely.
A more realistic example for me, and I'd ask if you have any fear if you're willing to share, is wasps, bees.
Okay.
These insects that fly that have needles on their butts, because I don't like needles either.
Okay.
And I'm not afraid to get my blood drawn. I just don't like it.
Right.
I've gotten better at it over time, obviously, but there was a time where I really didn't like it. But now, when it comes to these bugs, man, um, the fear is so great in that regard, and I'll share this. Is It's so great in that I'll panic.
Okay.
I'm gonna swat them, and that's the thing you don't want to do.
Right. Right.
You want to remain calm,
Mm-hmm.
but the fight or flight is so intense in that moment. For example, there was two instances. One, I was putting mail in the mailbox on a route I was subbing um, a while back for this carrier, this regular. Um, for whatever reason, the owner, the homeowner, and he himself didn't notice that this mailbox had a wasp nest in it. So I go to deliver to it, and they come flying out. Now this time I happened to be far enough away that even as they came out and did their defensive swarm, which was real interesting, I was able to get away from that. But the other time I was a sub for another regular. This time I couldn't get away. I opened and it was because the mailbox was so close.
Okay.
I open it up, they come flying out. Yeah, one here, one there, one there, one there, just all over the place. I start panicking. One lands on my hand, right there, right by my thumb, and just sits there. And so I start trying to shake it off. And that thing stung me, man. It's 2 or 3 days. It was painful. And what I didn't do at the time, which is what I do now, is I take bug spray with me.
Okay.
Because as on my route as a regular, I have what they call a collection box that has where they have the square mailboxes in them. It's a box and it has the square. Yeah. So there's this one on my route back during the summer, got a wasp nest in it. They first built on the inside there where customers can put their outgoing mail. There's a little slot.
Okay.
At the top left. They put their mail in that little slot. They made a nest there. I was able to catch them on that. Sprayed it, killed them. Then they got smart. There's 2 holes at the bottom of the post. I saw one flying around this particular day, I saw one flying around, and so I went to go try to kill it. Then I noticed there was like two more at the base of the post, right around where the hole is. And then that's when I clicked. Then it clicked. Okay, they're coming out of that hole. So I went and sprayed around that area, and here a whole bunch of other ones come out. So I dip up out of there, call my supervisor, and tell him, "Yo, man, I'm not delivering to this box until y'all get rid of these wasps."
Right.
So so they eventually take care of it. But Jason, when I tell you, it's a fear. It's a
Yep.
legitimate fear. I would say I have a fear of heights. Um, but that's relegated to the simple fact that if I can't be certain that if I fall I'm gonna die,
Yep.
then I don't want to be up that high.
That's a
You
good point.
know,
Yep.
which is to say I don't want to survive the fall.
Yep.
If there's any chance I can survive the fall, then I'm messed up. But so like if I'm in an airplane, no big deal.
Right.
An enclosed setup, right? Um, so that's those two things. But yeah, so back to the Wasp Man thing. They told me back when we was doing our orientation, they told a story about a postal worker who was delivering. A wasp got in, and I guess she had a fear too, or whatever. Ends up stinging her. She ends up wrecking and dying,
Wow.
and that stuck. I
Yeah.
never let that story go. So yeah, man, you
But
share yours, man. If
that's
you got anything there.
that's a powerful example though of what the fear does to people.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say for me, it's heights to an extent,
Mm-hmm.
but you know, for me, it's that I don't have control. Like
And that might be what it is.
like
Yeah.
riding a roller coaster, the concept of a roller coaster. I mean, I
Yeah.
ride my motorcycle.
Yeah.
Some people look at me and go, "Man, you're crazy for getting out there." I don't care how fast I'm going; it doesn't. But I have control of that motorcycle.
Yeah.
You put me in a roller coaster and I'm
Mm-hmm.
locked in.
Mm-hmm.
All kinds of thoughts start. Man, did they check everything on this? This is gonna be the
That's
day
it.
It comes off the track.
That's it.
Like that's where I'm at with it, and I don't want nothing to do with it. I'll sit out.
Yeah.
You know.
Same.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I've done it since I was little. I didn't care what my friends thought of me. I'm like, I ain't riding it.
I did, and I'll let you finish. I did one time went to Kings Island and I rode as I that during that time I rode as many as I could. Just because I was like, man, I wonder what it'd be like if you just ran a bunch of roller coasters. And so for whatever reason at that time, I was able to overcome whatever fear or concern I had. And I just remember, not so much whiplash, but just like somewhat being disoriented at the end.
Yeah.
And almost burnt out from it.
Yep.
It's like, oh wow. So they're just all about being fast and jerking you.
Yeah.
But any more today, I'll pass on them.
Yeah.
And I think it's because I'm more aware.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. But go ahead, man.
Yeah.
If you had anything else to
No,
add.
I often say, I tell my wife, I think if you put me in the front car with a steering wheel and a gas pedal,
Okay.
and I'm controlling this thing,
Sure.
I'd be fine. I'd ride any roller coaster out there.
Yeah. Okay.
It's like it'd give me that sense of
control.
Yeah.
Okay.
Same with driving.
Sure.
I mean,
sure.
we go places. I drive.
Yeah.
I'm the one. You know.
Right. Same.
In my world, I'm the best driver on earth.
Yeah. And so would you? So is it not the case that you wouldn't let her drive, or is
Oh
just
no,
that?
no,
Okay.
it's just that
You
control.
just prefer to. Okay.
You know, but when I feel like I'm not in control,
Sure.
and man, just throw the kids back into that. You know,
Sure.
that you deal with that every day. I don't have control, and letting them go as they get older. You know, okay,
Yeah.
I can't be there for that. I can't be there for that.
Man, Jason, that takes us right into it, man. That need for control. I think that is. Listen, that would tie into this election stuff.
Yep.
The fear mongering
Absolutely.
from people about either candidate is partly, I would say, it's because of lack of control. The one side is their whole. I was talking to my barber about this today. the one side's whole emphasis is only on the one main issue, abortion.
Yep.
And my body, my choice, control.
Yep.
In their ideology, maybe they've come to believe that if the states have control, not even control, but yeah, if they legislate this issue, they lose control over it.
Right.
And so I can imagine there's probably, on election day, depending on who gets in, there'll be a modicum of fear.
Sure.
From one side or the other.
Absolutely.
And it seems to boil down to, among other things, a lack of control, a sense of a need for control. And I say that it takes us right into it because I think about Isaiah 41:10. Did you happen to come up with any thoughts or anything there on that verse? I was one of the ones I sent you, right?
Yeah, you did send me that one. I came up with more with some of the other ones, but
okay, no,
just as I was studying,
sure.
And I was looking at Isaiah, I don't know, but if we begin anything, this is kind of what I came out of it with.
Go ahead.
If you begin with the unseen,
okay.
with any topic,
sure,
and obviously I'm talking, God is in
sure.
control of all of this.
Sure,
if you begin any situation with that, that changes your whole perspective,
absolutely,
of everything. So
well, let me go ahead and read it.
Yep.
Verse 10, Isaiah 41, fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. Yes, I will help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. And yeah, what you're saying there is key.
Yeah.
This idea of you mentioned the unseen. We can't physically see God.
Yep.
We experience we sense his presence through the Holy Spirit if you're a believer. We know that based on what is said of him in his word, that he is present with us. 2 or 3 are gathered, he is in the midst. But he says here to the Israelites, in an attempt to encourage them, tells them, do not fear. And he said, and so we look at that, fear not. Why, God? I am with you.
Yep. Well, what that channeled me to was, and hopefully not to change pace here, but Mark 4, the parable of the boat and the fishermen. And we're going to go the other side. Is that 37, 38, somewhere around there?
Was the storm comes?
When the storm comes in.
Okay, got you.
But he told him at the beginning, we're going to get in the boat.
And we're going to go.
We're going to go the other side.
Yeah.
But I mean, you're talking about guys that are walking with him. You just brought up the topic. We can't see him. We don't get to walk with him every day and talk with him. We don't get to witness miracles firsthand.
Yeah.
And I guess we're kind of critical sometimes of ourselves that we don't draw to him first.
Right.
These guys were walking with him every day.
Yeah.
And they did the same thing. They were doubting their situation, and he was sitting right next to them.
Facts. Yeah.
I mean, that's that whole thing. They're in the boat because he told them to get in the boat. And now they're scared. He's laying down there sleeping.
Oh, yeah.
But if they would have just stopped for a second and go, okay, he's here. He said we're going to get over to the other side.
Yeah.
We're going to get there.
Right.
Maybe we need to sit down and chill out a little bit in this storm.
That's good. Yeah. That's good. I got a little note here, a little thought. Additionally, in the book of Isaiah, God assures us of his presence and strength in times of fear. When he says, fear not, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. I will strengthen you. Yes, I will help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. We are given the reasons why we shouldn't fear.
Yep. Would you agree that I don't think he gives us a spirit of fear either.
Oh, well, that's
yeah,
that's a verse, ain't it?
Yeah, I mean,
well, I've not given you the spirit of fear,
yeah,
but
I don't,
yeah.
Um,
I think I thought I said that.
Is
one
that
to
one?
you too.
Okay. Well, I had a bunch.
Okay.
Because when we talked,
all right,
a month or so ago,
sure,
we were going to do this. I just started working.
No doubt. Okay, but yeah, I'm pretty sure that was one of them. But yeah, go ahead. Do you have anything else to say to that?
No.
Okay,
we're good there.
But yeah, the idea that He is with us, He is our God, He will strengthen us, He will help us, He will uphold us, and then He tells us how with His righteous right hand.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man. And you know what I don't do, Jason? When I'm out down that route, I don't go through any scripture in my mind as I should.
Yeah.
When I'm thinking about when I got my bug spray right there, man, Justin, I take 2 cans with me every day in case one of them run out, man. Because I actually had one run out.
Right.
I keep them with me, and that's some assurance. That's some physical assurance.
Yep.
Because I've seen the work that they do.
Yeah.
But I don't take into account that, man, I really could also rely on some scripture, and this could be one. As I'm out on that route, just be reciting this 10th verse,
Yep. That's I just thinking real quick with your wasp and your fear. So we've got a garage in the backyard.
Okay.
And it's open, so carpenter bees have inhabited the wood.
Oh yeah.
And when I cut grass, there'll be 50, 60 of them come out. They don't do a thing. They literally don't do a thing.
Yeah, because they don't have stingers. What the males don't.
And
I had to look that up.
The girls will come out, and of course they're afraid of them.
Sure.
And I'll go stand right in the middle of the swarm. I mean, they'll be bumping into me, but I don't have that particular fear.
Sure.
But they can't manage that in their head.
Yeah. I couldn't either.
But
now, so you don't do nothing with the nest because the queen's in there.
No, they don't bother me. I don't bother them, and I just cut the grass, and they come out and check me out for a minute, and
really,
that's it. Yeah.
Because I know the queen. How do you know it's the males? How do you know they won't sting you?
Oh,
you don't know. I
just get in there and trust it. And
okay. So do you think
it's not happened?
All right. So do you think then the day, if it ever does,
it could
you'll
happen.
then maybe do something about it?
Yeah, we'll do something about it. Yeah, they get a little more aggressive. We might have to.
Because like I said, I had to look it up, man. Because those things, I'll see them fly around the mailboxes.
Yeah.
And it is the males, I believe, that don't have the stingers for whatever reason, but the females do.
Yeah.
But I don't know which one's which, and I don't know if because I'll see them try to burrow into the wood.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if that's the male or the female.
Yeah, I don't
know. But we have another verse, man. 2 Timothy 1:7, the one you introduced. For God has not given us a spirit of fear. So this fear we experience, this need for control. It's like, man, it's so clutch that you said that, because it really paints this picture of our dependence on God.
Yep.
People that I think of atheists. Well, there is no God. There's no proof.
Right.
There's no evidence. So what does that mean for them? They can control their lives.
Yep.
They can do whatever they want to do and not have to concern themselves with the things of God. When we sin, we take back control.
Yep.
When we live for God, when we do what is right, we relent our control. Mm-hmm. So that's so clutch you put it that way. But yeah, he does not give us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. You got any thoughts there on that one?
I mean, my thoughts drifted more towards what factors could give us fear.
Go ahead. Speak to it.
For me, and I'll speak just family wise.
Yeah.
My parents were divorced when I was young, so I didn't have a relationship with my father. But then as I was married.
Yeah.
And we started having children. Now I have this fear. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to raise these children,
Wow.
So that was just a factor I wrote down, just outside things like
Sure.
I didn't have a father or an influence in my life, so
sure.
I don't know what I'm doing. I don't think I'm doing this right.
Sure.
The fear of, just raising them properly.
Yeah.
Persecution. You talked about Kurt Franklin. He's just doing something he thought he was wanting to do. But now, how would he look at that if that opportunity were to come up again? Does that?
Well, this man, in my opinion, he seems to be one that wants to toe the line.
Yeah.
He wants to have one foot in the world and one foot in the church. But to your point, though, did you and Missy ever do any research before having kids, or even during the process? I know my mom looked up some stuff when we were kids because we were diagnosed with ADHD.
Okay.
So she did some research on that, and
the only thing I was truly afraid of is, I have some heart defects.
Okay.
Was carrying that over, so that was a fear. I didn't want to pass that over to another kid. I'm thinking, man, what I went through growing up. No, I can't recall us doing any research. I will say I was driven to break the cycle. Growing up in a broken home, I'm not going to do that at all cost, and I'll always be there for the kids. And, but it was, just speaking of a fear that I had, it was, man, I don't know what I'm doing.
Sure.
Not having those influences in your life, But I did, now looking back, I did have those influences. I've talked about your father a couple times. I didn't hang out with him and break bread, but
his influence.
Just the few times that I was able to listen to him as a kid, it hit me, and
sure.
Thank God he got to me at that point, and it meant something to me to hear the word like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I asked about the research thing because that was one of the things me and Amanda are gonna looking into doing. Because there's books out there, there's research out there. There's you can maybe take or leave some of it, but or certain of it, but I mean, just being a psychology student.
Yeah.
It was a lifespan course, and just basically gives you the development.
Okay.
Of the lifespan of it, from conception to old age.
Okay.
And so that really struck me as I was thinking about the different impressionable stages of development.
Okay. Yeah.
And how I obviously want to be present for all of them. One of the things on this topic of fear I don't want for my son is what I experienced, and no fault of my parents, just my own internal issues, was a lack of confidence in myself, not very much self-esteem. I was a small kid.
Okay.
Other kids were bigger than me.
Yeah.
And somehow I always ended up in some kind of tussle or dispute with somebody. It could have been me.
Right.
I always just thought they were coming for me.
Yeah.
Some kind of persecution. I remember at the end of football practice, my 8th grade year, maybe, these seniors surround me. Maybe it was my freshman year. It's a handful of seniors that surrounded me. And I don't remember what they were saying, but I just remember, like, for whatever reason, I guess it was a bully opportunity. And so I ended up getting mud flung at me. And I had my football helmet in my hand. And I thought, man, I only could crack one.
Right.
Before the rest would do me in.
Yeah.
So I had to eat that. at that age, man. And nowadays we call it bullying,
right?
And I don't mind calling it that, but that's what got me into boxing.
Okay.
I couldn't defend myself either. I wasn't confident in no form of self defense. Didn't really have it. I wanted to box. Parents didn't want to get me in it. I played football pretty much seventh grade through college, freshman year. So I got contact and stuff like that. So I had an avenue to get out aggression. But if somebody was pressing me or wanting to test me or something like that, I had no means of defending myself really.
Right.
And so one of the things I was telling my wife, man, when we start having kids, I'm getting my daughters and my sons into some kind of combat sport of some sort.
Sure.
If obviously if they're into it, but we're going to encourage it heavily, just for the simple fact of them having the knowledge.
Yep.
And the confidence to take care of themselves and one another.
Yep.
So that was one thing that when it comes to the research and stuff like that we want to do, I want to look into ways that you can raise a child. Obviously, we're going to be heavy in the scriptures. That's no question there. But in terms of like practical stuff, things relating to their psychology,
sure,
their mental, emotional growth, ways to encourage and things like that. So, but yeah, man, just to get us back here, praise God, man, that He doesn't give us a spirit of fear.
Yep, absolutely.
We can acknowledge though that that there is this idea of fear being something supernatural or metaphysical.
Yep.
The Bible addresses the topic of fear in numerous passages, offering a guidance on how to deal with it through faith and trust in God. One of the most well-known verses about fear is found in, as we just read, 2 Timothy 1:7. And again, it simply says, God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. So I think, man, it would really help us to keep that in mind.
Absolutely.
Now you mentioned something about Matthew 4 or Mark 4.
Mark 4, yeah.
Mark 4. What you got there?
It was just that passage. When I really studied, listened to some things about it, it just struck a nerve with me for this topic.
Okay.
It was just a perfect scenario of Jesus teaching these guys. He's completely in control.
Yeah.
But then when you get towards the tail end of it, all through that passage, their internal fear, or the what was going externally around them, was creating a fear internally inside of them.
Sure.
And I just kind of chuckled as I was studying. This Jesus wasn't sleeping because he was tired.
No,
he was working.
Well, I mean, okay, so you would say that he was doing it because he was tired.
I wouldn't. That's not how it resonated to me. I think there was a purpose behind it. Not to say he wasn't tired, but you look at it. I mean, he was in the spot in the boat where he could get into a spot to take a little nap. But I personally, I just think
I think there's certainly a purpose.
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely. Yeah. But what struck me when we were studying this, then you get to the end, and then once he controlled the situation and showed what he was made of, their fear switched from the situation
to reverence.
Now we are really scared. Who is this?
Yeah. Well, let's see, because verse 39. Then he arose and rebuked the wind. This is Mark 4, verse 39. Rose, rebuked the wind, and said to the sea, "Peace, be still." And the wind ceased, and there was a great calm. But he said to them, "Why are you so fearful? How is it that you have no faith?" So there's this association that Jesus is making here of a lack of faith with fear.
Right.
More so abundant of fear, because this is why are you so fearful? Not why are you fearful, but so fearful.
Right.
And then in verse 41, and they feared exceedingly and said to one another, who can this be that even the wind and the sea obey him? And I wonder if that fear that particular word fear there is not for reverence.
Yep. And that's where I was going with it. Like their definition, the definition of fear flipped.
Did. Because the word fearful in the Greek is timid or dread.
Yep.
So there's and man, once again takes us into our next spot here, the fear of God. Because we have instances in our lives that we talked about at the beginning there where we have the fear, a dreadful fear. But when we can take that dreadful fear and flip it and make it and begin to revere God, I think you begin to take on, or you begin to operate in more faith, manifest more faith in Him.
Yep.
And when we say that reverence, that fear of God, we're talking about reverence and awe. The fear of God involves recognizing His greatness and holiness. In Psalm 33:8 says, let all the earth fear the Lord, let all the inhabitants of the world stand in awe of Him. This fear acknowledges that God is infinitely greater than we are and stands as the creator and sovereign of all. And man, that's heavy.
Yeah.
When it comes to acknowledging Him as creator and sovereign of all, that He is infinitely greater than us, we are talking about a big God.
Yep.
A lot of people like to look at God and think of Him small, put Him in my pocket,
right,
and turn to Him when I, need Him. If I don't need Him, I put Him over there on the shelf or something. But man, yeah, you got any thoughts on that?
Well, I was just gonna say that when you said that, my last trip when I had to fly somewhere, I had that perspective looking out the window down at the earth.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, and this is nowhere near how big God is.
No.
But look how small just this little section of the world looks to me just from being here.
Good gracious. Yeah.
But it kind of gave me a respect that night of, man, we're small. It's He's in control of every bit of this. So
no doubt. This reverential fear. I'm looking at Matthew 10.
Okay.
27 through 31, where Jesus says, "Whatever I tell you in the dark, speak in the light, and what you hear in the ear, preach on the housetops. Do not fear those who kill the body, but cannot kill the soul." To some degree.
Okay.
Because the immensity of His power.
Oh yeah.
So it is the idea. The idea here is, don't play with it.
Yep.
Well,
yeah. There's a fear, at least for me, or a respect of what He's capable of. So don't mess with that. Was it Romans? Did we do Romans?
No, not yet.
Not yet. No. So I didn't have any other notes on 2 Timothy or anything there. But
what you got for Romans?
I know those passages you just read.
Okay.
We probably put too much substance behind people that can do things to us here.
Sure.
Temporarily.
Sure.
Yeah. When, like you said, here's a guy that can take us out and then deal with us afterwards.
Yeah, right. Yeah. That's true. No, yeah. I mean, look, man. Depending on what neighborhood you live in, you ain't got your own protection.
Yep, absolutely.
You could be taken out, and maybe there's a dread fear there, and that for those people in those communities. I always wonder what it would be like if somebody rolled up on me and like startled me or surprised me at gunpoint.
Yeah.
How I would react. Sometimes I think, man, I'll just brush them off and be on my way. Other times I'd wonder if I'd get angry enough to act,
Yeah.
or if I'd just, do the survival thing and give them what they asked for, and obviously, call the police later. But I don't know.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
Yeah, because I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
I don't want to leave my wife,
mm-hmm.
and I know she don't want to leave me, or wouldn't want me to leave.
Right. Well, I think it's a sign of you're not fearing that part of life. You don't have a fear that I know where I'm headed.
Yeah. So sure.
But that situation could be totally circumstantial too. If I had my family with me,
there you go.
I'm reacting different.
There you
now
go.
I have a protection.
Yeah.
If I'm by myself, I may get a little dumb, I guess. So.
Yeah. What did you have for Romans?
Romans was just.
What was that passage?
I believe it was 8:15.
8:15.
Yeah. And we can go to it and read it.
Yeah.
You could probably get there faster since you're digital.
So Paul writes here, for you did not receive the spirit of bondage again to fear, but you received the spirit of adoption, by whom we cry out, Abba, Father. And so what did you come away with from that?
Going back to, mentioning earlier about my father, that's always given me a comfort.
Sure.
With that fear of raising my children, I have an example of a good father that I can turn to every night.
Amen.
And just open the book and go, how do I handle this situation?
Amen.
Tell me what to do here.
Yeah.
And it has got me to 48, so and worked out well. But I think just that comfort, of understanding that we are his adopted children.
Sure.
And I immediately became an heir to all the rights that he wants to give me. So, and the big one is his intimacy. I have intimacy with God every day now, and that was something that was given to me, and it's a very comforting, thing to think about.
I like this idea that I think that Paul is putting here, that fear can be a thing that both cripples you and binds you.
Yep.
Can't think of any examples of that right now, other than my own. But but to your point, knowing that you have a father greater than an earthly father. I mean, my father, man, you talked about him earlier.
Yeah.
I got to live it.
Right.
But I resented it. No, I thought he was soft.
Okay. I could, yeah.
Because he was so patient. But then I would forget that if I acted up enough,
Yep.
that patience eventually goes somewhere.
Yeah. And I can relate to that side of your father with my children.
Okay.
The easy situation is somebody acting up in a car next to you, and I could react the way I want to react as a man.
Sure.
And I got to think, what example am I showing these guys?
Sure.
So just let it slide.
Okay.
And I could certainly see that perspective as a young man. Going, man, Dad, let's go.
That's especially. I mean, in one example was I was a teenager at the time. I don't remember what age, but I was smelling myself, man, full of myself at the time, man. And he was at the top of the steps. I still see it today, up there with Mom, standing behind her, looking down at me, like just the serious, glare, if you will.
Okay.
And it was almost as if Mom, if it all it took was for Mom to step out of the way.
Yep.
And I would have seen him barreling down the steps coming for me.
Right.
But I just remember her saying, Mike, go take a walk. Go take a walk. I watch this, Jason. I get back after after a while, after I've had the opportunity to calm down, and obviously Dad had the opportunity to calm down. I get back, and he's either we're downstairs or somewhere, and I asked him. This may even been later on, like not even the same day, but at some point I asked him. I said, "Man, Dad, if what would you have actually done if Mom would have let you go?" He said, "Son, I would have smoked you." I said, "Well, shoot, okay." But man, because I would part of it was because I would see the way people would treat him, and he wouldn't react.
Yeah.
Per se, he would react in a patient, gentle way.
Yep.
And I thought that was weakness.
Yep.
People cussing him out in the church.
Yeah.
People saying stuff about him. Just various different ways of disrespect.
Yeah. But I think I could speak for him here. He knew his calls.
100%.
And he knew just the slightest bump or crack he gives that, or inch he gives him, it sets it back.
Sure.
Maybe to where he never can recover it. It doesn't take much, and they'll tear it completely down.
Yeah, and it could be because I had anger issues.
Yeah.
I had a temper, and didn't really know how to deal with it. I changed my music up. I went from rap music, crap rap,
to
should I say crap? I went from garbage, to Christian music. I found Christian hip hop.
Okay, yeah.
At some point, and so I went to that, but I had to put something down because it was messing with my spirit.
Yep.
And I noticed that at some point. But even to this day, I can get angry, kind of quick.
Sure.
But it's what I do with it.
Yep.
What I'm learning.
Yep. I do the same thing every day. I have a temper I have to deal with, and I here recently I've prayed about it a lot.
Sure.
And I think it's funny when you recognize it and know you're dealing with it. I almost recognize when it's coming. It's like, okay,
it's saying, yeah, sure.
That's working on me every day.
Yeah.
And I tell my wife and kids this a lot when they pray about something and they get frustrated, maybe with this timing, or and all I can think of is patience.
Yeah.
I tell them, if you pray for patience, you think God's just going to give you patience,
right?
Or is He going to put you in a situation to be patient?
Right.
Is He going to? Yes, I'm helping you, but I'm helping you through it with more situations.
Exactly. Exactly.
And that's what I've been telling myself of late. I'm not where you want me being angry or temper wise. So you're just going to keep throwing stuff at me until I.
What I think has helped me certainly, and I agree with you on that, is when God gives us the opportunities to grow, to prune us so that we can grow. We certainly take advantage of those opportunities, but having an outlet too.
Yeah.
Again, boxing, that is a prime outlet.
Yep.
It's a way for you to get your aggression out because you're being active.
Yep.
It's good cardio. Back when I was more into it, I was sparring with guys. Because I was actually a part of a gym. And so it kind of humbles you when going up against guys who have way more experience than you, can hit harder than you,
right.
You feel that impact. But like, even today, I'm like, bro, it's tempered. My temper has been tempered to a degree. So yeah, you're right. Tell you what, man, we've been going about 50 minutes with this, but I did want to ask one more thing of you before we close. What is your take on Halloween itself? as you being a parent.
Yeah.
We know what the stereotypical Christian view of Halloween has been.
Right.
What's your view?
I mean, as a house, my wife and I, by saying that, we've never not let the kids partake in the treat part of it, I should say. You know, let's go out and get some candy and walk around.
Okay.
I can't say I'm a fan with all the hoopla around it.
Okay.
You know, the Halloween parties, which we don't get invited to many of those.
Sure.
Most of our friends know where me and my wife stand
sure.
With things. So, but I can't say I have a terrible opinion about it.
Okay.
Personally.
Yeah.
But,
sure. Yeah.
You know, I guess we would guard ourselves naturally from if it's getting a little too far off center. But you know, things like we do here at the church, the trunk or treats, finding the positive way to do it.
Well, and that's I think what I'm having to come to grips with, even as we are practicing. My wife, and you know, Lord willing, hope to eventually start having kids. Is that particular thing is like, on one hand, yeah, they're just going out getting candy.
Yep.
On the other hand, yeah, we do hand out candy as a church, obviously with an emphasis.
Right.
But what literally the difference is you're doing it on church grounds and you're likely to get a track or something.
Right.
That's literally the difference.
Yeah.
And so the idea is like if your household did that in your community, you still participate in it, but you're putting the spin on it.
Sure. You know, I was allowed to just go all over. And, you know, we had fun being scared. You know, there was always that one house that went over the top, and it was, man, I'm not going up there.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's what's up. Okay. Well, folks, we're gonna wrap it up here. We appreciate you listening. This has been yet another episode of the Eternal Life Matters podcast with your host Michael, and once again we had Jason Lawson with us, and what a conversation! We hope you enjoyed it, and we ask God's blessings upon you, and hope that you remember the importance of fearing God. If you're going to fear anything or anyone, fear God. That means to revere Him, stand in awe of who He is as Creator, simple fact that He is sovereign, that He is holy and righteous, and you can fear those who can kill the body and do nothing else if you want. But as Jesus said, we would encourage that you fear the one who can kill the body and do more thereafter.